I can't believe this is how I admit I write fanfiction. This is... What? So, SweetRobins fanfiction project is Preston Jacobs' attempt to crowdsource The Winds of Winter, and I think it's amazing. And I threw together my own submission in 2 weeks, and it was very me, so obviously it didn't get in because my writing style is nothing like Germ's, and I physically couldn't make it like Germ's. It would have been painful. But I still think it's a really neat idea, and I'm still going to continue submitting stuff, and I thought it would be interesting to people who, I don't know, like reading fan fiction to make, I guess this is a podfic? Just consider that in silence for a moment. This is my Daenerys one, The Winds of Winter. Enjoy. I guess. The cell is cold and dim. Something crawls over her foot and she thinks it is a rat, but she is too tired to lift her head and check. Daenerys Targaryen lies there in the dark, covered in shit and blood, and wonders how much time has passed since she was queen. She remembers only fragments of her journey to Vaes Dothrak, of Drogon leaving her, of hunger and fatigue and pain, and she remembers a brief flash of hope when she sees Dothraki in the distance. Her blood riders had come for her, Dany had thought, come to save her, to bring her home, but it had not been her blood riders. Instead, it had been the other ones. What were their names? Dany remembered names sometimes. In flashes they would come to her. So many names, so many enemies. They had not given her a horse. She knew that. But instead strung her up like a pig, letting blood drip from her thighs and splash into the Dothraki Sea. It had been so hot, the sun blistering her bare shoulders. At some point she had asked for water, but they hadn't understood, her tongue too thick and dry to form the words. Eventually she falls, tripping over a knot of grass, the chains at her neck and wrists stopping her from hitting the ground with a painful jolt. When the horse doesn't stop, her ankle, still caught in the grass, makes an audible pop, and sharp, stabbing pain forces her to cry out. She doesn't know how long she is dragged behind that horse, arms twisted unnaturally above her head. When she next opens her eyes, she is in a cart, still naked, still filthy, but finally permitted to rest. Dany does not sleep so much as slip, the pain and the thirst forcing her to no longer think, no longer feel. For if she does, she may just die. They call her Khaleesi Ragat, but the language is soft and foggy in her mind. She knows Dothraki. Why can't she understand this? Why is she so thirsty? Their tone is mocking and cruel, and she wants to go home. But Dany does not know where that is. It took them until Vaes Dothrak for her to piece together what they're saying. Khaleesi Ragat, Cart Queen. Humiliation flushes through her body and she starts shaking. She hobbles off the cart, each step shooting sharp, stabbing pain up her leg. They do not lock her away, which is almost more humiliating than the chains. At least being chained meant she was a threat, something to be watched. Instead, she is given a room and a crutch, left to wallow in her own filth, and so she sits, waiting for people to help her, to feed her and wash her in sharp, silent judgment. One day, a Doth Kelly sits with her, watching as Dany forces tough horse meat into her stomach. It takes Dany a while to recognize the old crone. It's taking Dany a while to do most things these days. The stallion that mounts the world, Dany says, haltingly. That was a lie. Yes, says the crone. Why? The answer won't change anything. She will still be here, alone, abandoned, but she needs to know. Needs at least one honest answer. You were the mother of dragons. You must know a mother will do anything for her son. And doesn't that sting, no longer being considered a mother? The crone continues. My grandson, Calmotho, he was killed by Calpono, but before that he was Drogon's enemy, Dany finishes. You wanted to send us away. You were supposed to march towards the Jade Sea, away from here. What you did after that would be no concern of ours. Your pintash, she promised. Emotions that had dulled behind the pain bubble up at the reminder of her night's betrayal. Tears fall freely, leaving muddy tracks down her cheeks. Dani tries to fight them back, to wait until she is alone, but it is too late, and she sobs into the old crone's arms. The human comfort is soothing, and surprisingly the crone holds her, lets her hiccup loudly until her throat is dry and hoarse. Were they all disloyal? She whispers. Did any of them love me? The woman above her hesitates, her face is wrinkled, sagging. Loyal? No, but love? That is not known. Love can be much more difficult. Who? It barely sounds like a word, twisting in her throat into a cry of grief, primal and shattered. The iron coward fed your brother strong wine so he might die here. Your Lyseni girl was brought and paid for. But that is over now. The crone strokes her hair. It is not too late for you, child. Repent. They will let you live. She looks Dani in the eyes. This is where you are meant to be. Life can be good here. You have tried being a Khaleesi, but you are not. You are Doth Khali. Accept that. The old crone leaves, and Dani sleeps, cold and sore and missing the warmth of dragons. Over the weeks, Dani heals, slowly and painfully, and the Khals arrive. She is called to them, and in Dothraki leathers she is led outside the walls of Est Dothrak. Dani feels a strange sense of victory when she notices their braids are shorter than Khal Drogo's was. Her husband would have destroyed them if he had lived. Her son would have torn them apart. Dani herself wouldn't have stood for this a month ago. She sits and waits, and they study her. She continues to wait. They ask her questions, taunt her. Why was she in the Dothraki Sea? Where are her dragons? Will she repent? Dani allows the words to wash over her. What does it matter if she repents? She will die here, become slow and frail like the old crone. When another girl arrives here to rot, will Dani hold her? Or would the kindness feel cruel if she knows what is to come? When they reach for her, she shakes her head. Terror fuels her as it did on her wedding night. She cannot speak or stand, cannot run or fight, but she can say no, even if it changes nothing. One of the Dothraki, Calpurno maybe? Her eyes are filled with tears and their faces have blurred, snarls in anger and grabs her by the skull, tugging her head back. Repent. No. She wants to list her titles, wants to tell them that she is Daenerys Targaryen, the mother of dragons, and she will bow to no one. But her throat is choked, the hand on her head is harsh, and before she can cry or beg or scream, there's a flash of silver, and it is all she can do to breathe through the numbing pain. There's an ear on the ground, and Perno's arak is bloody. That ear is too light for a Dothraki, Dani thinks stupidly. Whose could it be? Repent, says Calpurno again, as Dani holds her hands to the bleeding gash that was once her ear. She looks at him, tears in her eyes and blood on her hands, and repents. And that is it. She sits, bandaged and humiliated, but alive, and watches a young girl eat a heart. The girl's movements are easy, and the old crone predicts a favourable battle. Dully, she wonders if it is another lie. She spends time walking, using her leg as much as she can until the pain spikes from dull annoyance to hot throbbing. She spends time listening, learning what she can and cannot hear, learning what they say about her. But as her body heals, her mind does not. She is still in that heavy fog that appeared when Drogon left her. And when they give her horse to ride to the womb of the world, all she can think is that this is not her silver, that her silver is somewhere else. She sits with the Doth Khali to eat, the womb of the world reflecting soft moonlight onto their faces. They have not spoken to Dani, only changed the dressing on her head when required. By the fire, Perno and his new bride begin to fuck, and Dani can't stand to watch. She was once in that girl's place. Maybe that was better, to live without aspirations to be queen. Dani walks to the womb of the world. Each step is an effort. No one notices her leave. The water is cold. Too cold to be refreshing, but still she walks. She walks until the water is waist deep and she is shivering. She lies back, relishing the shock as the water hits her head and neck. The stars are bright. Maybe she should just stay here, float until she freezes. Which god will take her when she dies? The great stallion? The seven? The gods of Gis? The noises from the shore dim, and she sees the house with the red door. Dani runs to it, but the ground keeps stretching away. She knows if she can just reach it, this will all be over, so she runs faster, harder. But when she finally reaches out to push the door open, it twists until she is staring into Quaith's mask. Quaith opens her mouth to speak, but it is cut off by molten gold, pouring over her head and bubbling to form the face of Viserys. Dani had not looked away then, and she will not now. Fire cannot kill the dragon, he says, and then he roars, the haunting cry of her children. The roar is followed by screams and a flash of heat. Dani opens her eyes to see the stars blocked out by flame, as Drogon, resplendent above her, defends her from the Dothraki on the shore. Her dragon dips his head, scooping her out of the water and tossing her onto his neck with one easy motion. Dani can do nothing but hold on, still dazed from her vision and the shock of seeing him again. But Drogon knows what she wants, and he flies up, spewing fire on the gathering below. Dani sees Doth Kili scrambling for the safety of the lake. She sees men on fire, screaming for help. And she sees the old crone, trapped beneath a burning horse. Despite everything, she is about to go help her when she notices the carls running to their horses. Dani does not even need to ask. Drogon is already swooping down, his two powerful legs breaking horses and men alike. She hears them cry out for Jaqaran, but she does not give them that mercy. Instead, she turns Drogon away. The Doth Kili exit the lake hesitantly, and there's a moment where nothing happens, where all she can hear is the roaring flames and the rhythmic thrumming of Drogon's wings. And then they bow to her, to the Khaleesi Regat they had ignored and mistreated. She considers killing them, to give them blood and fire like they had given her torture and humiliation. But they look so scared, wet and bedraggled, kneeling in the dirt. So instead she turns, aiming Drogon towards the far-off moon, and flies out across the Dothraki Sea. That's my attempt to do Daenerys 1, The Winds of Winter. It's quite a bit shorter than what Preston asked for, about, 2,000 words. He asked for 4,000 to 7,000. It's also very much not in the style of George R.R. Martin, which is probably why it didn't really get included, but I'm really proud of it, and I'm hoping we can see where this project develops and continues. I'm really excited.